Episode number 213 with Steve and Mike.
I got X-ray specs for eyes, I can see right through you.
Welcome to the Heads Up Poker Podcast. This is Steve Barton.
And this is Mike Snyderman.
And let's see, we're both at home now, Mikey. You've got Jonas right now, right?
Yep.
Yep, right on. He had a sleepover, or what's he doing?
He was supposed to have a play date. They were just playing on the computer instead.
Oh.
It made it easier. I didn't have to get up at 8 and go pick him up.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah, Steve, my son in the adjacent room. You might not get your normal supply of gloom and doom from me here today. So if you want your daily dose of darkness, people you're going to have to blindfold yourself and crawl into your closet, I guess. I don't know.
Well, how you been? We spoke about 2 weeks ago. What have you been up to since then? Still grinding cash?
Yeah. I think I've stuck to the plan. I think I said after when I returned from Maine, penniless here, it was going to be about putting in lots of hours, and I've done that, and I've had a profitable month.
Nice. Good.
So I had like back-to-back days of over 2K, which at the 2-5 game is pretty good.
That's good. Yeah.
2K profit. So, this is the plan. As long as I just did long hours at the local Southern California casinos, Steve, I'd probably be okay.
Yeah. How many hours a week have you put in so far? Well, I guess we're into August now, huh? So for July?
I think July I did 165 hours.
Okay.
Maybe so, but I didn't play like the first 10 days of the month. So that was like,
wow. Okay.
That was like in 3 weeks, pretty much,
Well,
55 hours a week. That's probably what it's going to be moving forward.
Yeah.
It's okay. As long as my back's not in serious pain, I can sit there forever, man. I still enjoy the game.
Good. Right on.
I don't like studying, but I've always been a lazy bastard, and I no longer want to watch it on TV for the most part, unless I know someone. But
yeah,
still enjoy walking in a card room. At least that's something. That's an asset.
Yeah. It is fun. I've started to I was looking over my my data, and I'm like, I really need to be playing those tournaments more at my local card room. I
thought data was the nickname for your penis, Steve. Sorry, I need to.
You need to rethink what we're talking about.
I have to start over. I know you're talking about you're reaching for your data, and then okay.
Yeah, I was looking that over, and I'm like, I really should be putting in more time there. And as nice as it is to sit in my boxers and watch Netflix and play on Bovada, it's a lot better for me to be sitting in that room. And I think I'm going to start playing a little more cash. And so I played a couple hours of cash.
That's funny, Steve.
That's about it. But
the fact that you are thinking to yourself, man, I'm wasting my time, should really put me in a panic state, by God's sakes. You get more done in a week and a half than I do in like a year. So your idea of wasting time is like 20 minutes of Netflix, I'm sure.
I played that 585 that they had at the local card room, the one that it was going to be a 5-table max, 50 players.
Okay.
And I woke up in the morning, so I woke up at like 7, had my breakfast and everything, and I knew it was going to be a quick tournament because it's the same format as their $100 tournaments, and then they have the same format for a 235 once a month. So for a 585, this is a big tournament for this little 18-table card room. And but they started it in an odd hour. They started at 9 o'clock in the morning when all of their tournaments start at 11 or 7 at night.
Right.
He told me he was afraid that they were going to get an influx of people from LA that, if the Commerce puts on a tournament like this, they get 900 players. He's like, we just can't accommodate that. We can't even, make enough cash tables for that, so they didn't really advertise it. They put it in an odd hour. And so I thought, when I showed up, there's either going to be 100 people here or there's going to be none. And, there was,
right.
I got there at 8:30, hoping that was early enough, to make sure I at least got a seat. And I noticed the parking lot was significantly vacant. And I walked in And I bought in, and I said, how many people are there so far? And he said, you're number 2. Okay.
Yeah, that's
So the tournament got to where, let's see, it came to 9 a.m. and there was 7 of us. And I'm looking around, and there's me and 2 other guys that know what we're doing, and there's 4 others that don't. And there's getting a lot of baby birds kind of, chirping, saying like, oh, well, we don't even have one table. I don't know if I even want to play, and this and that. And I'm like, oh my God, I might have got up at 7 o'clock in the morning for fucking nothing if they don't launch this thing, I thought, okay, what can I do to kind of sway it in the direction of, let's get the cards in the air. And so I look at my seat number, and I realize it's for the wrong table. And I'm like, okay, they had multiple tables here because they thought they were going to have a lot more people. So I just kind of sat down in one of the seats, and I said, I asked the tournament director, I was like, hey, Jose, what, is this where my seat is? Because I see this is the wrong table, but it looks like we're playing a sit and go. And then he's, oh, okay, new seat cards. So he gets out the seat cards, start passing them to everyone. And then the game kind of got rolling, and it was good. It was a really good game, but it was just super fast. It was a turbo.
How many people ended up entering? I'm sure a few people came late, right?
A few people came late. To give you an idea how good this was, there was a guy that came in, and he could have sat down instantly, getting there about, 15 minutes late. And he wanted to wait until the first break, in which his starting stack would be about 12 big blinds. It was like, okay.
I think I told this story. Yeah, I think I was in one tournament where the person was down to took a bad beat, was down to 7 bigs, and I gotta walk this off, man. That was terrible. And returned with 2 bigs. I'm ready to play now.
Yes. Oh, that's
and, and serious, of course, not aware
of course.
Yeah, that actually just got me thinking quickly. I wonder what the reason they probably start early is because they have they want those cash games tables open as soon as possible, maybe.
I don't know. His reason,
a cash game table in a casino pulls about $180 in rake. So, so that's why these local tournaments just go so fast. They make less money per hour on the table, I'm sure. It's just to, they make money on it, obviously, but it's also to keep people happy who like tournaments,
Yeah, yeah. Well, from this tournament, I imagine if, a single table like this, we ended up getting 11. I went out 8 and just shoved ace queen, ran into 9s, never got there.
Right.
And this one, it was it probably went 4 hours, and there was 11 people, so that's 850 plus 85. What was that, 935? And they made some good money on that in 4 hours. That's not bad.
Right. Yeah. They're not doing it as charity. I know they're making some money there, but
yeah, I want to get with them though and see if I can persuade them to start it at 11. I think that'll at least double the turnout.
Yeah, that's early.
Yeah, especially for poker players, and especially when all of your tournaments are at 11 o'clock. And there was a couple of players there that said that they just happened to check it in the morning. They didn't know why they did, because they always started at 11. They saw it started at 9. They're all, oh shit, and they jumped in the car and came.
It seems to be when I play daytime, 11 a.m. is when the 2-5 starts a lot. That's kind of the hour where a lot of people drift in. So
yeah.
I guess the same thing would go for tournaments, obviously.
Yeah. But yeah, it was fun. It was fun. I had one hand. It's not. I don't really remember the exact.
Oh, good.
I was hoping I would sneak this in without you.
I was gonna be like, Steve, I sorry, I just don't have all the details. Let's move on here. No, go ahead. Sorry.
I had let's see, I was in early position, like UTG 1. At this point we're 8-handed. I got ace queen, both diamonds, ace queen of diamonds, and if the blind levels were 100, 200, I made it 650, something like that. Folds around to the small blind. He calls. The big blind calls. Both recreational players. The big blind especially, I played with her a lot. I've played with her since the card room used to be up on the avenue. So if anyone, there's probably 9 listeners right now that know what card room I'm talking about. And when it used to be up there, which was probably a decade ago. So I feel like I'm very familiar with it. And flop comes down, 6-6 deuce, 1 diamond, small blind checks, big blind checks. I throw out, I think like a, I don't know, a little bit more than a half pot bet. Small blind insta folds, and then the big blind, she kind of does that shrug move, like, oh, what can I do but call? You know what I mean? The move that telegraphs that she's got a good hand. You know,
usually, unless she's given the double reverse tell there. This is why I kind of avoid some of this stuff you look at, because if you're not going to do it well and really absorb it, it's better not to look at all. I've discovered. But anyways, I'm sorry.
It did not feel like an act at all. And as much as I played with her, I mean, it just felt like, okay, she is minimum 7s plus right here, right? With ace queen of diamonds, then we go to the turn with 1 diamond on the flop, and the turn is the 9 of diamonds. So now we got 9 of diamonds, 6 of diamonds, and then 6 deuce. I can't remember the suits. She checks. At this point, I'm like, well, that was probably one of the best turns that I could have hoped for. And I feel very certain here, if I bet, that she's going to raise me, or you know, I don't think she's going away. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So I check. And then the river comes a blank. It was, well, not a blank for me, I guess. It wasn't a diamond. It was a jack of clubs. And then she just insta bets out. It was about pot, and which would have left me with, I think it would have left me with about 5K. And if the blind levels at that time were 1-200, I would have like 25 big blinds. And so I folded. It was an easy fold. But then she flips over quad 6s. And I was like, wow, that could have been ugly if that was the jack of diamonds instead of the jack.
Right.
So I definitely dodged that bullet.
Well, yeah, that's good that you have the read there. Yeah, that's one you usually see. I mean, you do see sometimes.
Yeah,
usually I think people have
kind of like they're holding the chips in their hand and they shrug their shoulders and then they put the chips in. If you see that from a pro, just forget it. But if you see it from a recreational player, then it's very likely that they got a good hand. You know,
right?
You know.
Well, a lot of probably, at least the good recreational players, they're going to just try to not bring any attention to themselves when they flop a set. So even like the shrug of the shoulders there could be like, I don't know, but I guess you lost the minimum.
I think so. Yeah.
That might. Yeah. I mean, if your read is solid, normally you have to, I think you want to, that is a spot. Maybe you will want to go for thin value sometimes. But if I didn't have that read, tens are better. Maybe. I mean, if you think she's got 7s or 8s, or is just maybe even just calling with ace high, I'm not sure, but with part of your range, anyways.
Well, I only had ace high by the river, you know.
Right.
But
no, I was just talking about range versus range.
Oh, okay.
Analysis here. Like obviously you gave up properly there. But I'm saying, you know, how would you play queens on the river too? You might be losing value there. I don't know if you can put her just on a 6, but I mean, maybe in a specific spot you can. But I think
had she not done that shrug, I would have bet the turn when the diamond comes out. You know,
sure.
I see bet the flop, and then like she doesn't do that shrug, she just calls. I mean, I could see her calling there with ace high, maybe even some king highs. Like she likes to get down to the river, you know. So at that point, you know, ace queen might even be a value bet. But with that shrug in there, I was just like, okay, well, I guess we need to hit runner diamond, or
right,
runner ace or runner queen.
Well, it sounds like when your read is that strong and you trust it, then it's obviously you're not putting another dollar in the pot.
Yeah. That was the only real interesting hand there. Everything else was pretty. Oh, I did have one that was I had 8s in like middle position, real limpy table. You know, very common to limp under the gun with things like king 10 offsuit and stuff, and then call a raise. And so I did have 8s in middle position. And it was just that under the gun limped, under the gun one limped, and then I had eights in middle position, and at 35 big blinds, and 3-bet, and then just a flop of like ace king, 9 or something. It's just one of those days that couldn't get anything working, but it was fun. It was a good tournament. I hope they do it again. It was just a turbo.
Yeah, sounds especially, if they actually got the number they're expecting, and maybe they will the next. That's like I don't know. That's like 15,000 for first, right, or something.
Yeah.
If you're only paying 3 people.
Yeah, because well, with 50 people they would pay 5, possibly 6. I think
50 was the max. I thought it was the 25. I had the number in my mind. Sorry.
Yeah, no, 50 max. So, and they would accept alternates. So, I mean, this thing has the potential to have 55, 60 people.
Sure.
And just with 50, that's 25K prize pool. Yeah, so it probably is 12 or 15K for first. I think they'd pay down to 5. Nah, they'd probably pay to 6. They'd probably pay to 6. But yeah, it was fun. It was fun. Good tournament. Good tournament.
So what else, Steve, can we talk about here? Give me something else you can be annoyingly positive about.
Let's see. What do I got? I've been doing the stocks game.
Oh yeah, I was
lately. The last a little bit more. My buddy Danny and I, that we do it together, and he's real good at finding these ones that pay dividends, which we've learned is, at least in the game we're playing, kind of important, because you can buy into one of these stocks. Let's say you get, we'll just make it simple. Let's say you buy a grand of one stock for $10. If it doesn't pay a dividend and it just goes sideways, in other words, one day it's worth $10.11, and the next day it's worth $9.98, and it just goes sideways for months. If you have a 6% dividend, you're still making money, so it's okay to keep that thing in there. But when we kind of got into this about a year ago, we didn't know that. And, we have some stocks that we bought at the beginning of that time that have been going sideways, and we're not making a dime because they don't pay dividends. So we've just had this money for a year sitting there, and we're still waiting to overcome the commission costs. And
sure.
We can't get rid of the damn thing. So the stock's just sitting there, even in the ones, if they pay a dividend and they go down, at least you're getting some money back with the dividend. And then you can, once it gets back up to where you sold it or a little bit higher, then you can make some money. And it's not that bad if it sits in there for 6 months instead of what you originally thought it was going to sit in there for maybe 6 weeks or 3 months. But yeah, it's been a fun game. I've found a way to keep my bankroll. I've got about 15K right now that I'm farting around with stocks, and 8K of that is locked up in a federal money market fund, which is paying 2.5 to 3.5%. I've seen it as high as 4. So just by having that money in that account, you're making money there. And then with the other 7 or 8K that I've got basically on the tables right now, now that we know about the dividend thing, we've just got them plugged into these different stocks that are paying good dividends. Some of them are even up to 9%. Those are a little bit more volatile, so you got to be very careful about when you enter. But
I would think, now this is kind of funny that I be the voice of caution, but it's more like I'd be the voice of laziness, and I just don't want to be buying a lot of stuff that I don't know about. I want to be the research. But I mean, you make a good salary, Steve. You could just probably put 20K a year into an IRA or more. Once you just do that, at age 60, you're a multimillionaire, and you cruise. I mean, you know what I mean? You cruise till then. Is this?
Yeah,
I mean, if you're making, I'm not sure. Just throwing that out there, Steve.
I'm
sure you do that too.
We're talking about that too, and he said that I do have a Roth IRA. The max is $6,000 a year that I can put into that, and I've got that maxed out.
Okay.
But this one, Danny was talking about. He's like, what do we do when it hits 2008? And all the stocks we own just get cut in half.
Right.
You got $10,000 on the tables. Now you got 5. You're basically stuck with those things for the next 5 years until the market recovers.
That's why it's gambling, Steve.
Exactly. And so then we started thinking like, well, what if we started diversifying some of these stocks into some that are like overseas, maybe like by some banks in Ireland and I don't know, something in Asia and like that. And so we've
When you
started
say
doing
when
that.
you say we, you're talking about the guy who coached you.
No, me and my buddy.
Oh, okay.
I
Sorry.
got coached by the guy.
I thought maybe you were hearing voices in your head. Teddy, bye, red rum.
I refer to myself in the third person.
Okay.
My little devil and angel on either shoulder.
Okay, sorry. So you're coming up with a different strategy. I'm assuming your buddies. You guys actually have a joint bankroll for this?
No, we're basically, we have our own bankrolls, but we're basically buying the same stuff and selling it at the same time. And I'm kind of more the pattern recognition guy of recognizing when is a good time to buy and when is a good time to sell. And he's a lot better at finding which ones to do that with. I'm kind of the timing guy. But it's a good partnership. It's fun. I enjoy it. And yeah, so the thing is, though, some of these overseas ones too, I mean, a lot of them follow the American market. So if the American market tanks, you can look over history and you see that they tanked as well. So it's like, maybe that's not spreading it out as much as we thought. So I don't know. I think there is a hit coming.
Sorry, Steve.
I think there is a hit coming, but I just got to make sure that I don't have money on the tables that I can't risk it.
Not like me. You don't want to have 90% of your net worth into something that's not worth anything. Or you don't even know what it is. I mean, it really was that was just me hauling a massive sack of magic beans into my room. Jesus Christ, I'm stupid.
Oh, that's great.
I'm sorry, Steve. Once again, I cut you off there. So yeah, if I were to do it, I would also like use 10% of your, since you are really responsible with the bankroll, why not 10% on just trying to find some cheapo stock, cross your fingers, and you know what I mean? Like something that's either going to explode or that's where I would do my research, or find someone to do it for me. Just 10% is like.
That's basically what we're doing. Is okay. A lot of the ones that we're looking at are very, very volatile, but they seem to follow a pattern of, let's say it's a 40 or 50, let's say it's a $40 stock. It within the period of 6 months will go up to 50, down to 30, up to 50, down to 30. I mean, it looks like a Charlie Brown shirt, you know what
right.
I mean?
Well,
that is no guarantee that it's not
going to
go down to 15 or up to 85. You have no idea, but it's a general pattern and you can see it. And there's certain little software tools that you can use to predict what it's going to do next. Now, by predict, it's no different than poker. You know, you push all in with ace king and the guy calls with jack 10 and you're still going to lose 35% of the time. But more often than not, you don't. And
yeah, I was just making my point. You're trying to if you could get 5% profit, you would be very happy with that, right?
Exactly.
I'm saying just find something to gamble on.
What's that?
Find something to gamble and just hold on to it, and maybe it makes 800% profit. You know what I mean? I don't know, but
we did do a couple of those. But I tell you, the money is just in these like little safe. I'm doing air quotes now. These little safe bets that they follow. We did do that. We did that with Tesla, and initially we would have been great. We invested $750 into Tesla, and it went up to we would have made $150 in 3 days. Got a little greedy, thought it would go up to $350 a share, which had it followed the pattern, it would have. And very next day, Elon Musk sent out a text or something that, says he was going to send out all these self-driving cars and take over Uber. And then the stock just completely tanked. It was like, shit you can't control. And
he was seen at a social gathering with a Heads Up Poker podcast hat, and they all just thought he was deranged.
So we're damn near even on that one, but we learned from that one too. Speculative stock, extremely volatile, and no dividend. That was a mistake. So now we got $750 or whatever it was tied up in that until it could at least get back up. That's money that I could have had in the other account, making me 3% this whole time instead of just staying.
Right. But you're doing it right. Like I said, even if the stock market goes to hell, it'll be annoying.
Yeah.
But this is not like a massive, part of your net wealth.
No, it's just
if the stock market ever collapsed, we'd have much bigger problems.
Yeah.
Yeah, there'd be Nazis and Mexican gangs fighting in every town. It'd be I mean, if we ever faced real scarcity, I think this country might be in trouble.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I'm going to be doing fantasy football again this year. So last year I got 2 out of 24. I'm hoping to. I just want to take the damn thing down, dude. I just want my name on the trophy.
There's a trophy?
There's a trophy, yeah. And then there's also a trophy or a plaque of shame for whatever you want to call it. We call it the rusty trombone. And the guy that loses gets his picture taken in a dress and earrings and a necklace. And then that picture's up on the wall on the rusty trombone until the next guy takes that title. So
I like it.
Yeah, never had that one, but never even come close to that. But yeah, I got second last year, and I'm like, ugh, so close. But yeah, we'll see. And then there's another sports betting one that I want to do with my brother. He's played, I believe, 2 or 3 years, and I know he's cashed twice. It's like a $350 or $400 buy-in. Hundreds of people enter this, and so there's tens of thousands in the prize pool, and you basically pick 5 football teams a week to win against the spread. And the first one that you're most sure about, you assign 5-point value to, and then the second one you assign 4 points, 3 points, 2 points, and 1 point.
Okay.
And he's got a system that seems to be working. And so he said it's really easy to learn. He's going to teach it to me, and then he'll show me how to incorporate it each week.
You got sports bettor extraordinaire Mark Alioto in your corner too, perhaps.
True. Yeah, I can.
You can ask him. I'm sure he'll want to. He's a hustler. He'll want to make some sort of deal. Steve, I hope you're here, but you just have to promise to get a new phone number and never call me again. Like that would be a reasonable trade he might ask for.
Well, if I got through to him, then I would have had already gotten a new phone number, because the one I got now is blocked. I guess it was a bad joke. Okay. Anyways,
it was really. Oh no. Okay, no. I was feeling bad. Then I'm like, there's someone else out there that's so annoyed by you. They're just, I'm like, it's kind of unfair.
Blocked contact. Well, my brother said basically what he does is he takes the spread that comes out at the beginning of the week that is put out by the professional sports, line setters in Vegas. And then he compares it with the spread just an hour before the game starts on Sunday, when all the public has put in their opinion to this, and Vegas has adjusted the lines so that they don't get murdered by one game. And you take the difference, see how many like inflection points, he calls them, that they crossed, or thresholds, or whatever you want to call it. As for example, in football, 3 is a huge number because field goals are common and they're 3 points each. So if you cross that threshold of 3 points and make it 3.5, and that's the new spread, then that you've crossed a giant threshold. 7 would be another one, like that. So that's the basic concept of it. I'm sure there's a lot more to it than that, but I'm kind of excited about that one. I feel like I can just be a trained robot and pick these fairly quickly with minimal time each week, and we'll see how it goes.
Seems like every bet you make, Stevie's going to be plus EV. You spend a lot of time on these things, whether it's finance or poker or blackjack or whatever.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun.
Have you ever had a time, of course, this has happened to me hundreds of times, where you leave a casino just devastated, where you're like, I cannot believe I lost that much money? Or is that, like when you first started doing blackjack, where you probably you were counting, you're making money, and then you had one day you got your ass kicked and you just left devastated? Or
I must have had something like that, because I remember, and I didn't always have this, but I would, after that, it would be like for a cash game, I've got, I'll normally take to a cash game like 2.5 or 3 buy-ins, but I don't take more than 3. So that must have happened at some point, although I can't recall when it was.
Okay.
Because maybe it was something, maybe it happened to my brother. He used to play cards semi-professionally like 12 or 15 years ago. And he was saying that he's not comfortable. Like if he loses 2 buy-ins right off the bat, he's better off going home than he is buying back.
Right.
And maybe that's where it came from, where I was like, after 3 buy-ins, that would fucking suck. And I don't know that I'm making the most ideal decisions,
Right. Probably a bad streak for you is just like, oh, this is part of my deposit for house number 3 that won't go through. Kind of, it wasn't.
I don't know. What can you remember the most devastating one you had?
Oh, I don't, Steve. They're all pretty bad. I don't know. I don't even want to talk about gambling. I don't know why I brought it up. I think I've told a bunch in the old days. I'm not sure. The old days of this show. I know I offer a lot of private information that most rational people would not share.
Mm-hmm.
But no, there was a couple times where I had trouble walking out of the casino because I've been standing for like 40 hours. Like the only thing that's keeping me going is just watching at the dice, like just fighting through the physical pain out of pure will.
Wow.
And, there's once I got into my car and the cramping was so intense, it took me like a couple hours before I could drive home. I had to sit there and then took a little nap, and it was like just the pain. Probably totally dehydrated. Probably had one water in 2 days or something. So,
wow. You've done a 40-hour session at the craps tables?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, probably for sure a few times.
Wow.
Yeah, my addiction was as bad as can be, Steve. It was for my love addiction though. It was the only time I wasn't desperately thinking about some woman or women in general. So that's the reason I've discovered late in life.
I wonder if I got a bit of that.
Steve, you do not have an addictive personality here. I mean, you kind of do, but I guess.
Well, I've been hooked on nicotine since I was probably 16 in some form or another. For the last like 7 years, it's been this nicotine gum.
Okay.
Yeah, with girls too. I mean, like, I think it is kind of like whatever it is that I choose to focus on in the moment. Like there's just blinders on and nothing else matters. And I just run towards it, which I think in some aspects is a strength, but other aspects, parts of your lives and parts of your life and other areas can suffer,
Yeah. I mean, we all feel the same things. It's just, grief, rage, joy, whatever. I just feel all the emotions just so much more intensely and purely than other people. That's just my malady or whatever you want to call it. Maybe that's what makes me interesting, Steve. I don't know.
Makes for an interesting dichotomy, that's for sure.
What else did I want to say? But I don't know. I want to quickly say I felt a little bad that I failed Veronica when she brought up I totally forgot. She had mentioned this before on her Twitter, but her Twitter is so light and funny that I'd forgotten that she had a child that died of cancer.
Yeah.
I don't know. That just came up in a weird spot where both of us were just kind of silent.
Yeah, I guess we were.
There's really not too much. I'm just hoping I didn't offend her somehow there. I don't know. Because Steve, how much I want Veronica to become part of the Heads Up Poker family here. Yes, yeah. Clayton could die in a hang gliding accident any day now, There's room now anyways, but there might need a lot of room.
Oh, that's great. Oh, that's awesome. I don't think it was too awkward. I remember listening to it. I was kind of like, oh, okay. When I was listening to it after it came out, and I remember in the moment I was like, oh, all right.
She's actually probably grateful because no other human being other than someone else who's lost a kid at a young age could offer any useful commentary that at all, Yeah.
That's life. We got an email.
Okay.
This one's from Greg C., longtime listener. Steve, big fan of the podcast, was listening today, and you were discussing a recent local tournament that you ended up winning. Congrats. Thank you, Greg. When discussing the local casino tourneys, you mentioned that knowing your push-fold ranges and your calling ranges is a big part of your edge. I'm familiar with push-fold ranges and use them often, although haven't come across any resources around calling ranges. Anything you can pass along? Or did you build your own? And if so, what general process did you use? Range based on range assumptions. Keep up the great work. Thank you, Greg. Honestly, Greg, what I do is I just Google Nash calling ranges and hit enter, and then print out I don't know, 3 of them, compare and contrast. It'll be set up kind of like a XY axis with all the hands like you would see on Equilab or Slice or any one of those programs, and it'll tell you what each one is a call. And basically what it is it's a call from the if the small blind shoves, you're in the big blind, it's for that scenario, and that is if the other person is playing perfectly. So if the guy's a little bit tighter than usual, then you probably want to adjust for that. And if he's a little bit looser than usual, then you probably want to adjust for that. But that's basically what I do as far as the calling ranges. What do you do, Mikey? Like, how do you?
Well, I just go by the charts. I mean, I kind of probably have them close to memorized. I don't know, all the shove fold, and then, well, when I made the final table, of course, the $1 million tournament, I was using, I think it's float the turn. You can play like 40% tighter, 30% tighter. Like
okay.
Yeah, they actually have not just a shove chart, but one that you can adjust for, tighter or looser.
Okay, that's
people
good.
People are over folding. You can make it looser, and if there's huge pay jumps. So at one point, it's like there was like 2 people with all the chips, and there's like 7 of us with like probably 10 to 20 bigs.
Okay.
So I just had to like try to fold everything, pretty much.
Yeah.
Try to move up a couple spots. I mean, I wasn't going to fold everything, but I had to think it was like 50% tighter or something.
Okay.
I had it set for.
And that's on float the turn?
Float the turn, yeah, the Jonathan Little site. I think that's what it's called. And,
okay.
Yeah, they have one of the better shove fold charts. I like it.
Okay, I'm gonna look at that. As far as push fold charts, I just use the Jennifer one. If you Google Jennifer push fold, it'll be the first and only thing that comes up, and you can adjust for the ante size and stuff. It's kind of neat. Then just print them out, and after using those things a bunch, you just naturally memorize them.
Of course, the beauty of these little day tourneys, Steve, is that a lot of people don't even understand push fold.
No, they don't.
Or stack sizes. These aren't even, you know what I mean? So it's
yeah.
And probably that might even be, you're going to get so many folds just by min raising middle position. You don't have to like shove the bottom of your your chart there, because you'll know they're only reshoving with 10s plus or something. But
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Most of them, like when you shove on someone at these local tournaments, they're calling way too tight. Way too tight. They're folding way too often. And they're not shoving loose enough, so when they shove all in, when they've got 9 big blinds or whatever, it's probably a lot tighter than the charts suggest. They're probably not doing that with 10-7 hearts or something. I mean, every now and then they do, but just take note of those players and they'll be back and use that information. But yeah, good question, Greg. Thank you, sir.
You have another email?
We do here. This one's from Andy from Illinois. I don't have a hand to discuss per se as much as a topic. On a recent podcast, you said that you think your edge in small buy-in tournaments comes largely from knowing push-fold ranges. I'm thinking we must have started a theme here, Mikey. I recently played in a $350 buy-in tournament, which is the biggest tournament I've ever played in. Also, the first real tournament I've ever played in. I play regularly in a sort of underground home game type of tournament. I did cash for $760. Great experience.
Nice.
No major complaints. So nice. I've kind of reflected on my bust out hand, which has a few aspects to consider, but to me, the biggest decision point is pre-flop. I had 16 big blinds. It's good you're keeping track of that, Andrew. And a big stack opponent raised from middle position, and I called from the cutoff with ace 10 suited. What do you think here? I guess my point of confusion is I believe this is a jam on push fold charts, but those charts relate only to if you are open jamming. I'm not sure if it's still jamming face open. Well, what are you thinking right here, Mike?
There are charts too, by the way, for rejamming when someone opens. What can you reshove with properly, not just what you can shove with properly.
Yeah.
So those exist. I would be shoving here a lot, unless I thought it was just a real nit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is something you can just put in an equity calculator, but even if the person's opening even 25%, you know what I mean? Like just the tight, aggressive person, you're still getting a lot of folds when you shove here, I think. How many does the main villain, how many chips do they have?
Just says he's big stacked. It doesn't say how many bigs he's got.
Well, I mean, if he's calling wide, if he's calling with everything he opens, that's not even terrible either. He might have a bunch more aces and some hands we dominate.
Yeah,
I'm leaning towards just a shove here, unless it's the absolute stone bubble. If you have such an edge where, like everybody's overfolding, or but I don't know. That's my first instinct. Like I said, Steve, I'm kind of done with tournaments. So with every tournament question you ask going forward here, my confidence in my answer is going to be less and less.
It's going to diminish as we go on.
I'm tempted to think that this is definitely a profitable shove. So I don't know if that means maybe you can just flat on the button or the big blind here off 16 bigs, but probably you're supposed to just fold here if you're not going to shove, right? I don't know.
I think so. Okay, so we're in the cutoff. So we have middle position opened. It folds to us. We got ace 10 suited. We got the button, small blind, and the big blind to get through. And so that's 3 people behind you that are probably calling this with the top 5%. Maybe 8. I don't know, depending on their stack size. But yeah, unless the guy's a nit, I love to just reshove.
You think they're only calling with the top 5% of hands?
That's probably that's too tight.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. If this guy is someone who's opening wide, and if he's like c-betting 100%, then you can just maybe stop and go here. Just shove over any flop.
Well, oftentimes when we call here, we're going to get some of the blinds or someone to come along too. You're just sweetening the pot for them.
Right. But you could also hit here and leave in the hands that are dominated, the crummy aces from the blinds, I guess, if you want to look at the opposite side of it.
Yeah.
I don't know. What would be your shoving range here, Steve? Let's just put it that way.
Okay. I think ace 10 suited is close to the bottom. Depending on the villain, let's say it's an average recreational player. He doesn't give too many he doesn't give any details about the opponent, but we'll just say it's an average local casino regular. I think probably ace 10 suited above, pairs, maybe 4s or 5s plus. I think I'm folding 2s and 3s there. And then I like shoving king, queen, offsuit, offsuit aces, probably down to ace jack. And then I guess you got to mix in like a jack 10 suited or something. It doesn't feel right doing that. I just feel like they're always like going to snap you off there with the ace deuce offsuit or something,
Yeah, I'm not really prepared to answer this. My first instinct is I would be like ace 8 suited.
Okay.
Ace 10 off in any pair, deuces, and then most of the suited broadways.
You're probably right on it.
10 jack suited, queen jack suited, king jack suited might be the only one gapper suited that I play, and then king queen off sounds about right. Again,
but we both agree this is a 3-bet shove, right?
Yeah, I would think about at least 75% of the time, depending on his opening. But especially when you say chip leader or big stack, and I'm picturing him opening. Yeah, basically it can be a shove against anyone but pretty tight players.
Yeah, the old man that hasn't played a hand in 30 minutes and now he comes out raising. Well, let me ask you this: I like shoving best, then I like folding, then I like calling. What do you like?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Was he on the button?
He's in the cutoff.
Yeah.
Button, I could almost entertain a call. I just like shoving better. I was going to say maybe if you're on the button, then you could justify shoving, then calling, then folding. But in the cutoff, I feel like when we call there, it's just like it's so likely that other guys are going to come in the hand. You're not guaranteed to have position because you still got one guy left act that has position on you. I'm just not a fan of.
Yeah, I mean, again, the thing is, you have people behind you are going to call. If it was if exploitively, if you thought this was a guy who's very loose pre-flop, but he's just scared money, on the flop, he wants to absolutely smash it or he's done, then you can just call and click it back here because you've noticed he c-bets 100% of the time, and he's going to give up a lot. Or the opposite. He just doesn't c-bet unless he has top pair or better, in which case you know exactly if he checks, you bet, and if he bets, you fold. I don't know, Steve. I would shove, and if I bust out, I bust out.
Yeah. Okay.
I would even shove maybe up to 20, 21, 22 big blinds.
Yeah, I would shove probably up to, about the same, 20. At least 20 might be the top. No, I'd probably shove 22 bigs there. Yeah, I like it. Okay. I was curious how you think about jamming, calling, folding when relatively short stacked and facing it open, and thought it might be a good topic for the podcast since it's a little more complicated than just reading a chart. As you might imagine, let's see, we got results here. My opponent had a worse ace, turn to pair, GG. Had I jammed, I think he might have folded pre, and I would have picked up roughly 4 bigs plus blinds and antes in his open. It's a big results-oriented hand, but I think it should have been a jam, but I'm not sure. I was only on my second hand at the table, so I had no read. Oh, okay, he goes on, so he has no read. Other than that, he was a big stack, and he was opening a lot of hands. And he could be opening a lot of hands.
I mean, I'm tempted to say in all of these daily tourneys, if it's a close spot, then shove is probably the answer. Yeah. Especially if it's, I'm guessing this is like the blinds could be up just the next time it gets around to you.
Yeah.
And now you got 11 or 12 bigs. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There's one thing that Alexander Fitzgerald just hammers home is he's like, keep the betting lead, which is another word for aggression, and I think there's a lot to be said for that. But yeah, as I said, overall tournament was an awesome experience. I want to thank you for all you do on your podcast. It has helped my game and got me more into poker and probably helped me cash in this tournament. Very cool. Glad we could help. I
actually got a hand, Steve, I can discuss from last night.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Why not?
Okay.
Straddle game.
Okay.
I got about $1,100 on the button.
Okay, $1,100 on the button.
And it opens to guy 2 to my right, playing lots and lots of hands. Just likes to see flops. And he raises to $35.
$35. Okay.
And I'm on the button, it folds to me. I have 9-8 of hearts.
9-8 heart.
He is he's got like $700 maybe or something.
Okay. Cut off a 700 behind. He opens the 35. So you said this is 2-5-10?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I think someone had limped and this player had raised to 35.
Okay.
Someone had just called 10 early position.
Okay.
I don't know. He does like to ISO a fair amount. Well, yeah. So obviously 9-8 suited, something I always want to see a flop with.
Yeah. Did you ever give some thought to 3-betting here?
Well, that's my question. If that's the best option there. I don't know. I have in the blinds are the small blind and the big blind are 2 pros who are definitely capable of squeezing. They're also capable of really questioning why if I 3-bet, whether it's, ISOing light so they can re-ISO maybe. I don't know. This would be a typical hand for like that people would 3-bet to like balance with. If they want to do 10s plus, then they also have ace-5 suited, 9-8 suited, 8-7 suited kind of thing.
Yeah.
But my flatting range here isn't necessarily weak after someone limps and someone. So I don't know how often I'm getting squeezed or not. I think that's the big question, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know, Steve. I'll just go. This is one of those hands where it's like, I'm sorry. I'm just going. My answer is like, I don't know. Guy to my left. I just called. Okay. He makes it 145.
145. Okay.
Next 2 people fold. The original limper folds. The guy who made it 35 folds, and it's back to me.
Okay. And
he has me covered. He has like 2,000, and like I think I said, did I say 1,100? I'm just
you said 1,100. Yeah. Okay, so the guy that the small blind made it 145, right?
Yeah, he's a pro. Right now, as usual, you hear me complaining. We always have some passports there. Is how I say it now. We got 3 Brazilian passports, Australian passport, a New Zealand passport, and a French passport. So we got our foreign players running, and this guy has been killing it. He's Aussie, and he's very, very good. And yes, nice guy, but we're all happy to see him leave in a few weeks, I think.
Yeah.
And that's just the cruel way it is. He's a lot of fun at the table, but so Steve, this is, again, I'm trying to, rather than coming up with these dynamic and real interesting situations, I'm just trying to come up with basic situations that you see all the time that you need to know the answer to. And I don't know if this worked best as a 3-bet, and I don't know if we're deep enough where I can call another $110 here.
Yeah.
Like what does our stacks need to be for this to be a profitable call? I want to say the answer is probably 1,500 at least plus.
Yeah. I going back a little bit, like when you said that you had 8-9 of hearts on the button and you get a limp and then a small little bet that is basically a pot sweetener because that guy that called $10 is never folding another 25 to that. I really like a 3-bet, especially with the pros to your left. You're going to be, this is the best position you could ever be in against those two guys. You're on the button.
Right. I mean, I don't mind playing multi-way in position with 9-8 too. So,
yeah, but I think 3-betting makes more money in the long run.
Probably.
You know,
I mean, the guy who ISO doesn't have to have a big hand. It could, theoretically have a big hand though, too.
It could, yeah.
If you raise and have to fold 9-8 suited, that's always one of those painful ones.
That's true.
But
sometimes that shit happens. I mean, the worst thing that can happen when you 3-bet is you get 4-bet, but it just doesn't happen that often, you know. You remember when it happens because those 1 out of 5 times are so painful, but the vast majority of the time you 3-bet here and you get called by the guy that made it 35 and now you're in position against one of the worst players at the table and just take a flop.
So what is your range here
for 3-betting?
I mean every question is range, but I guess this is my point. If I ever want to like really crush 2-5 or move up to 5-10, be able to be that, like most good pros, like they're just a bot in a spot like this. They know exactly what their 3-betting range is, what their flatting range is. And just as importantly, or more importantly, they know what their response to a squeeze from a pro is, Yeah. I don't know. They might even, it's hard at this. Yeah. I mean, I guess you could 4-bet fold, but that's so, I don't know, Steve, what is so basically in every step of the way here, I'm not doing anything totally stupid, but I know it's imperfect and I don't know the answer. So that's kind of my point here. I end up calling.
Okay.
Now that's probably also bad.
You call the 110?
Yeah.
So we had 240 in the pot and it was 110 to call. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that this guy is a pro and squeezing a lot, Steve, in your opinion, does that mean I call more or less?
I would think you call less. I would 3-bet more and call less.
Yeah, I think basically I just gave this guy a spot where he could squeeze, and you kind of have to, because if you hit 2 pair here, if you think he's bluffing a lot, then you're not getting paid anyways. Sometimes,
Yeah.
But I told myself I'm going to call, and the reason it's going to be profitable is because I'm in position and I can own him post flop, and I'm just going to float or raise every flop, blah blah blah. Which is already getting stupid and adding too much variance in a game which is pretty decent. So there's nothing really interesting, Steve. I called, and the flop, again, there's which flops would some players make moves on? I don't know. The flop was king, queen, like 4 with 1 heart, rainbow flop.
Okay.
So he c-bets, he did the down c-bet, he bet like 80.
Course.
So, which is pretty kind of standard here. That's become the down bet on c-bets.
Huh.
I just fold.
Okay. Yeah.
So again, like Steve, this is, if I really ever want to I try to remind myself that these spots I really should be taking seriously. And again, I can beat the game without knowing the answer to this. Just maybe making a mental note to, I mean, you do have to fight back against the other pros or they will jump on you.
True.
You can't roll over. But yeah, I don't know if that's best as a 3-bet or a flat. I don't know if you can call a 3-bet. and I don't know which flops I'm supposed to bluff at or pursue. Like I would any like 10 high flop, I was maybe gonna anything with like gutter ball, I was gonna raise, but yeah, I mean, again, that's just that's if I was Carlos, I would demand that I know the answer to that.
Yeah.
But I'm giving myself credit for just knowing that I should know the answer to that. Does that make At least I'm becoming more aware of my ignorance. I'm not doing anything to get better at it. But no, it's time to like just get better at poker, Steve. Like I said, we've had all the talks with Alex about how poker is going to get worse. Like, of course, he has kind of a darker perspective like me. But when the games, when for all we know, 3 more passports are going to walk in, and it's at that point, and they're all playing at me, So at this point, there's going to be times where the games get really hard, where I can just camp out at 2-3 and accept that I can't make more than $20 an hour.
Yeah.
Or I need to hold my own and play as close to perfectly as I can against the pros.
Yeah.
Or they're just taking every dollar at the table. So hopefully it never comes to that, Steve, where I should prepare for those days at least somewhat. But
yeah, I mean, you're better at cash than I am, but I mean, like in any scenario, I feel like if you got a 3-betting hand on the button, which I think 8-9 suited falls squarely in that, and you have 2 pros on your left who you're going to have position on them for the rest of the hand. I mean, they're not 3-betting you there with crap. Right. They may do it with like an ace, like a weak ace. They may do it with all Broadways, but still, I mean,
right. I'm 3-bet heavy too. So it's also opening a spot for one of those guys to re-raise, I thought too.
I think so. Yeah.
But
they're not doing
Steve,
that with like 9-4 offsuit, which is the vast majority of hands, right?
You're probably right, but you don't know you're right.
Okay.
You know what I mean? You and I don't know what the optimal answer is there. We agree to that. Like what the range of a top pro is in that spot.
Yeah.
How often are they 3-betting?
Okay.
You know what I mean? What ranges? It might be somebody said, well, I'm 3-betting half.
It would be a 4-bet, right? Because you already got a range.
No.
You 3-bet, they 4-bet.
It would be a 3-bet. Somebody just limped and somebody raised. Somebody 2-bet. Oh yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, we would. I'm still talking. I'm not even talking.
Yeah.
I'm not even talking about the squeeze. I'm talking about the decision, which you were talking about, which is you would say the 3-bet. So I'm just saying somebody there has a specific range, which might even be, well, I'm 3-betting 9-8 suited 50% of the time because because we don't want too many bluffs in our raising range or we're susceptible, I don't know, Steve, you're probably right on this specific hand. I'm just pointing out
that's a good point.
Work ahead if I were to want to get better at poker, like I should know that answer.
I mean, essentially we have 110 big blinds with the straddle because the straddle's 10. The original opener has 70 big blinds. I think that I wouldn't 3-bet this and then call up 4-bet. I think that would be a big mistake. But
we can't afford that.
No.
Okay, Steve, you're sticking to the idea that this is a pretty easy 3-bet. You're probably right, but I'm just pointing out that, these are in these close spots, which I think it was pre-flop anyways. I'm no longer opening crap. I think I'm 3-betting crap less. So I'm playing pre-flop better, but there's still a lot of these close spots where, I just don't know the answer.
Yeah, I don't either. I just feel like a 3-bet is good there. You're going to be in position against the 2 best players at the table, and this is the only spot in 10 hands that it happens.
Well, if the original guy raises, and the next guy just calls 35, and I have 9-8 suited, does that increase the chances you flat or increases the chances you squeeze?
Now, with the 2 pros there.
I'm just trying to establish facts. Steve.
Yeah.
You're as ignorant of this as I am.
I might be more inclined to fold then. Although not calling with 8-9 suited on the button feels like a mistake. But I mean, you're just making it. I feel like we're just donating $35 to one of the 2 guys on our left.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it wasn't if the early position guy who I think was limping a well raised, we're going to give him some big hands in his range. So that might reduce the squeezing likelihood to the left there a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd probably be more inclined to fold then if the position or if the open came from early position.
Okay. I'm just never folding 9-8 suited when I can chance to play it,
Well, let
100
me
big
ask you this.
blinds.
Let's say you get the limp under the gun or in early position like you did. You get the 35 from the cutoff, and then well, let's say he was in the cutoff and he made it 35. Let's say the hijack makes it 35, cutoff calls 35, and now you're on the button with 8-9 suited. Maybe that would be a mistake to fold that there.
I don't know, Steve. It sounds like a major mistake there to me,
Yeah.
but I'm just like trying to tweak ranges in a professional way is kind of. I need to get better at poker. I've gotten better at bankroll management and tilt control and game selection and all that. Now it's maybe time to actually try to get a little bit better at poker. I don't know if I have the discipline. Like I said, the passive discipline just to watch, an hour of Poker Go or whatever a day seems like it shouldn't be too much. But I don't know. But there's just a lot of spots, Steve, where a lot of these things I don't know certain spots like if the button opens, especially if it's obviously a wide opener, I have king, queen off in the small blind. I'm going to be 3-betting a lot.
Okay. Yeah.
Now, what happens if somebody calls in middle position and the cutoff and the button call and I'm in the small blind with king, queen off? Does that increase your raise percentage?
Now, did you say they open from middle position or they call?
Yeah, open for middle position and you get 2 callers. And you get king, queen off in the small blind.
Probably just folding.
What is what are you squeezing with there? What are you folding? Do you have any calling range? I'm just saying these are like, if I were to get a coach, this is the sort of questions like, how do I know pre-flop? Helping me with better pre-flop decisions here. Where I'm pissing away a little money. I'm opening Jack 9 suited and some 3-bets and I call.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like how much money, or are there spots where I can just fold and I'm squeezing too light and putting myself out of position, and so that makes a lot of difference. Just probably playing better pre-flop adds $10 an hour to my game.
Yeah.
I could use an extra $24,000 a year, I think. So that would be a good investment. I think especially when Mark talking to him is like, when you first get started, not that I'm just starting, but your studying time should be more than your playing time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, I've got the excuse that I really do need to just grind all the time, studying, but,
if you
I don't know,
a coach that you like, a legit coach, not,
just watching videos.
Yeah. Like who would it be for cash game for
I have no clue.
What's that?
I really have no clue.
I mean, Joe LaPinta? Maybe.
Yeah,
that's one.
I can probably very good. I can guilt Joe into some free lessons too. Maybe he's great. Joe, I'm so lonely.
Yeah, I mean something like once or
Andrew's
twice.
Obviously a great coach.
Once a week or twice a month or whatever. You and him just get on the phone for an hour and a half or whatever. You ask him all these spots, take notes, and
right.
Then put that practice into play for the next week, and then rinse and repeat. I mean, $100 a week right there, I think would be a great investment.
Right. Yeah, something like that. I forgot, Steve, there was something very epic that happened in the card room last night.
Ooh, this should be interesting.
I don't know if I want to blame it on substances or whatever, but I did something nobody's ever seen before. A lot of people say is it folds to me on the button, straddle, and I have queen jack off, which is be a pretty standard open from there, even with the pros on my left. So I take out $35 and I throw it into the middle. At the same time, I throw my cards in the middle. I just throw both of them in there. I bet and mucked at the same time. Steve, it gets better. So the guys to my left are just laughing hysterically. I don't know what. I don't care. They're both looking at me, and I'm kind of joking because I'm probably getting mocked for something I don't care about. But I'm like, floor over there. I want to look at the video. These guys are colluding. But it's so they start laughing even louder, of course, because I'm so far off field. So the guy to my left, of course, raises similar. I make it 135. He makes it one. I make it 35. He makes it like 135 or one something. and it folds to me, and I tanked for a while with no hand in front of me. And he's been squeezing me a lot, and it's like I got a little. I think I'd lost a few hands, and I was probably down to like the starting. I was down to 800 here. So I was seriously thinking of just shoving. I got some blockers to some good hands. And he's going to be if he's 3-betting 25% of the time here.
Wait, I'm confused. I thought you didn't have any cards.
I didn't, but this is why I was tanking. I was trying to decide if I could shove Queen Jack.
Oh, you didn't realize you folded? Is that what happened?
Yeah, I'm still sitting there with no cards after he raised, tanking, deciding what I'm going to do next.
Okay, so you thought that you still had cards? Is that what?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
wow, that's impressive. No, I've never seen that.
So I don't know if, first of all, I wonder if this was a deal or fail when I'm back, and like I was tanking for a while. Like, shouldn't they say your hand is dead and just shouldn't they just push the
pot
stack?
to the other guy?
I think they're supposed to, push the pot. So maybe this is a deal that I've undertipped or something like that. So I didn't finally. But yeah, I think it was a legit decision. I think shoving there wouldn't be out of line. I decide.
Cards, right?
I'm sorry.
Had you kept your cards, shoving would be a legitimate option, right?
No, I'd already decided to fold, and I reached down to put my cards and push them in the middle. I said fold, and there was no cards there.
That's great. Oh, wow.
So next time I complain about a bad beat, you can say, Mike, I think you got other issues to work on here.
Was this at the end of a 12 or 15-hour session?
Yeah, it was pretty late. I can't remember what time it was in the morning, probably near the end of my session. Yeah, 10 hours or something probably. But yeah, pretty bad.
Right on.
I think a couple of times I've misread my hand.
Yeah, I've done that.
Where like somebody, like I remember I was betting the whole way with kings, and this is the only one I can actually specifically remember where I went like bet shove with kings when there's a king on board. Mm-hmm. And a guy called with aces, and I'm like, I threw it in the muck. I'm like, hold on, I had hit 2 pair on the river.
Oh,
I had like some king 6 or some rag hand,
Yeah.
And I already thrown it in the muck.
Oh, bummer. I did that probably just as costly. I was sitting at a let's see, this was at the old card room in off the avenue, and I look down, I have aces, and I raise. A guy 3-bets me, I 4-bet, he shoves, and I call, and I flip over ace 4. He had 10s. So it's like, okay, that wasn't a second ace. That was a 4.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah,
that one would be a tricky one. Yeah, smart people have done some. One of the Passport pros, this happened like a big pot. I wasn't there, but supposedly like a $6,000 pot where he snapped a guy off because he thought he had a flush.
Oh.
And he was thinking about his cards from the previous hand.
Oh, shit.
And so he lost over 3,000. He was devastated. He picked up and walked around for 20, and he came over and finally picked his chips up. But he was drawn dead. The other guy had like a straight on the turn, and he just snapped him off with a flush draw and had what thought was a flush, and he had absolutely nothing.
Yeah. Wow.
So, grinding long hours. I mean, that's just ridiculous. That's my.
Yeah.
That happened, obviously. But
I've never seen it.
I was thinking this is a raise, and at the same time, I think I was like, no, you can't raise. These guys are good. I don't feel like getting in a war with Queen Jack where I'm going to get. So yeah, I was basically neurotic, couldn't decide which to do, so I decided to do both.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you didn't shove there.
We were talking about it afterwards, and these guys were like, no, we wouldn't have taken all your money there. It's probably they would have fought on my behalf to get the money back. I don't know. I don't know if I deserve that. They probably should take the money. You got to punish a man. That's the only way you learn lessons.
Yeah. Well, we should probably wrap it up here.
No, Steve.
I
want to talk some more. No, I don't. I have nothing more to contribute here. So good timing.
Good deal. Well, thank you for coming on, Mikey. It's always a pleasure. I love our conversations. It's amazing. We've been doing this for 5 years, and you've been playing for probably almost that long too. And,
Since it's been I think exactly 5 years since I moved to California, or just about.
Yeah, I think we started it like late 2014, something like that. So I think we're coming up on 5 years. This is pretty cool.
Pretty amazing, Steve.
It is. It is. Right on. Well, good deal. Well, thank you, Mikey. You guys can
have a great day.
Twitter at HUP Podcast is me, and at Mike Schneiderman is Mr. Schneidy. Thank you for tuning in. Here is your weekly motivational speech.
I'm not going to sit here and tell you life is going to be Ron Howard happy days every day. It's not going to be that way. Matter of fact, it's probably going to be the opposite. You see, the enemy is going to throw everything he has in his toolbox at you. Now, he can't stop you himself, but his objective is to get you to stop you. This message is for the struggle, for all those going through trials and tribulations. People in this world are gonna fool you, disappoint you, turn their back on you. The closest around you are gonna give up on you. And when things hit the fan, everybody's gonna run. You're gonna look around and you're gonna be all alone. I'm just keeping it real with you, because somebody out there needs to hear what I'm saying. This ain't a motivational video. Man, this is life. This ain't no game to me, and I know what you're going through. And I'm gonna speak life into you right now. Nothing, listen to me, nothing can stop you. God will never leave you nor forsake you, and that is all you need. There's a power inside of you that you can only discover when you are truly alone. Just as the waves on a beach shore come in and out, people will do the same. Relationships are like music, and you should never make music with anybody who doesn't understand, appreciate, and value your lyrics. Sometimes you just gotta let these people go. You gotta know your worth. Sometimes you just gotta let them people go. You gotta stop chasing people who don't appreciate you. Sometimes in this life, champion, you gotta remind the world just who you are. And you don't do this by telling them with your mouth. You tell them with your actions. You make your actions speak loud and proud to who you are. Don't let the world convince you that you're nobody. You're somebody who just don't know it yet. Do you hear what I'm saying, champion? I'm speaking to the champion in you. Rise, champion. The way of the warrior.